Today, we're going to dive into something super exciting. Uncharted Dungeons. This is the newest HeroQuest card game expansion, crafted by none other than Lizuren. He's been on a roll with these card expansions lately, and this one's no exception. It's time to toss aside what you thought you knew about this card expansion, because I'm going to show you how I've transformed these cards into a full-blown Advanced HeroQuest system. So stick around. This is the Fair Weatherman. Welcome to the world of HeroQuest, a place unlike any other. Today, I'm thrilled to guide you through some epic dungeon scenarios, showcasing my retro game board and my new female sculpts. Introducing you to Uncharted Dungeons, a fun and straightforward card game that blends perfectly with the HeroQuest system. Imagine combining the familiar mechanics and rules of HeroQuest with the unpredictable twist of Advanced HeroQuest. Leading up to this video, I watched a demo on how to play Uncharted Dungeons, mixing the card game into the traditional game board setup. Think Axiom Quest vibes. While that's definitely fun, I've discovered where the system truly shines, adding a fog of war element for that extra layer of mystery, harkening back to Milton Bradley's 1989 HeroQuest sequel, Advanced HeroQuest, and utilizing dice tables to randomly generate your dungeon crawling experience. And to top it off, I've incorporated official expansion tiles to create an even more immersive and thematic experience with modern HeroQuest mechanics, heroes, and its monsters. So grab your dice, shuffle those cards, and let's dive into the unknown. This is the Fair Weatherman. Before we get started, I've got to share something cool. I snagged this card set with a discount code sent by Lizuren to purchase through Drive-Thru RPG, and trust me, I was eyeing it even before he reached out. Let me show you what you get in the purchase. So I downloaded this game box from Drive-Thru RPG that Lizuren has provided, and you can put the cards in. Now, one complaint that I have about it is rather large, and the cards kind of bounce around in here, and they're not very snug, okay? So I'm gonna alter this box and have a link for you to download with all the other documents today. You'll also receive a deck of exploration cards. And these cards have all the layouts of the dungeon on the traditional game board. And so I'll show you how these are used when we get to the gameplay aspect, but the back have all of the different stats that you would then populate each room with. Kind of a random generation through a deck of cards. Secret doors and traps deck, where as heroes will enter rooms, they will then pull one of these cards and it will be determined what you find based off of the cards. So you have secret doors on one side, traps on the other. You flip it over, you'd find nothing in this case for the trap, and the secret door would be found in that room on that side. You receive a deck of monster cards, and so when you enter rooms, it will tell you how to populate those monsters based off of group 1 and group 2, and we'll go over that when we get to the gameplay as well. This is the objective card, which will be buried in here. What's neat about the enemies cards is it does come with its own built-in jargon, where it tells you how to move these monsters. And then you have your 6 quests. They're double-sided, 1 through 6, and they all have their flavored text, quest goal, how to set up, rewards, and then the big boss's stats, along with the wandering monster at the bottom. If you're already familiar on how to set up Uncharted Dungeons, and you'd like to skip ahead to my version of Advanced HeroQuest utilizing this card system, please do so by jumping ahead to the time code below. If you would like to learn how to play Uncharted Dungeons or need a refresher on how to set up the game board, just stay where you are. To set up the game, you're going to separate all the cards into 4 separate decks and place them in your play area. And then instead of separating all of these individual decks based off of their room sizes, I just kind of kept them in order from smallest to largest, along with the corridor tiles. And I'll just dig through there when I need them. Then of course I'm going to set down my treasure deck. Today I'm using the original game treasure deck, which is awesome. Any chance I get to get this one out, is always worth it. How the game is going to work is very similar to HeroQuest. You're going to set up where the quest tells you to. So in this situation, we're going to place our stairs in the red 4x3 room. And then we're going to shuffle the objective card randomly amongst the bottom 4 enemy cards. Now we don't want to do this at the top, right? You don't want to end up having it the third one in. But what it says to do is take the bottom 4 cards, shuffle it amongst these 4, and then place them at the bottom of the other ones. This is going to require the heroes to go through all of these enemy monster cards up until they get to the end, which will be randomized. In this case, it would have been the first out of the 4 cards. So this determines how many rooms or corridors the heroes are going to open before they encounter the big bad. Quest 1 is called Among the Shadows. My friend Volkor, a dark necromancer, has emerged, spreading his vile influence throughout the region. Your quest is to find the hideout and eliminate the evil that threatens the kingdom. So in this case, when that objective is met, you would then populate the room with Volkor and commence the battle that will then play out. Whenever a hero opens a door or turns a corner in a corridor, he must draw the corresponding exploration card from the room or corridor he has just entered, noting the number of squares and its width and height. The barbarian just entered a 4x5 room. She would then pull a card that will inform us on how to lay out the room. Now this card can be turned any which direction. Now since the barbarian entered from the top, we would turn the card this direction, here, or if she had entered from the side, we would apply the same mechanics here. The red arrows are the exits and the green are the entrances. So in this situation, we find that there is a 2x3 furniture that needs to be placed. I'm going to use a table, but this of course could be a sorcerer's table, an alchemist's bench, a tomb, any item that you find interesting. The card also instructs us to place 2 outgoing doors, one found here, and the other to be placed here. As you'll notice, there is a blue X and a red X, instructing us to populate monsters. We would then draw an enemy's card. Group 1 instructs us to place 2 green monsters, 2 goblins, and 1 orc, and Group 2 instructs us to place 1 mummy. It also shows in here how those monsters are going to attack and move on the board, giving you a kind of built-in jargon. This is great if you're playing solo and you aren't sure exactly how the monster should move. It gives you some idea of the instructions for each one. The barbarian would then complete her move action. In this case, they're going to move over to attack the mummy. Now that the barbarian has reached the end of its movement phase, she's going to draw a trap card. And we're going to then flip it over and see if there are any traps. In this case, there aren't any. The barbarian would then present an attack. 1 hit. On the mummy's defense of 4, no block, thus landing a hit on the mummy. It would now be the dwarf's turn. The dwarf is then going to make a move towards the goblin. At the end of the dwarf's movement phase, she would then draw a trap card, falling prey to a spear trap. She would then roll 1 combat dice to see if she can dodge the trap. She did. The dwarf would then present an attack on the goblin. The goblin fails to defend, inflicting 1 point of damage and killing the goblin. It would now be the wizard's turn. Snake eyes. I'm going to hold the wizard back here. We'll then move the elf. Big roll here. We'll place the elf there as a backup to the dwarf. We have a couple options for attacks. The first one being that any green monster, a goblin or an orc in this case, can move to any square adjacent to a hero with the highest number of mind points within 8 squares of this monster's movement. They then present an attack on that hero, or if that's not possible, the second option is to attack an adjacent hero, then move to a square as far away as possible from all heroes. So let's take a look and see what we have here. As far as our group 1, our greenskins go, we have an orc and a goblin left. And really the only option the orc can do is move over to the dwarf and present an attack. The dwarf has 3 mind points, the highest being the wizard, but clearly she's way over here in another room and that monster can't pass through our other heroes at the moment. So I'm going to move the orc. And it's going to present an attack on the dwarf. One hit. And it's successful. Now this leaves the goblin not able to make any attack right now. So we're just going to keep him right there in place. Now we're going to look down and see what we have to do with our mummy. Right here next to our barbarian. Has 2 options. Move to a square adjacent to the hero with the highest number of body points, and then it would attack that hero. The second option would be to attack an adjacent hero, then move to a square as far away as possible from all heroes. So let's see what we have here. Our mummy can present an attack on the barbarian, and the only option it can do is to move backwards in front of our goblin. The mummy missed. It would then move backwards away from that hero. I like this built-in AI for monsters. It does give you a couple set of choices that you might not normally take. I will say though, as I play, when it gets to Zargon's turn, I automatically default into Zargon mode and start playing how I would play. And at times I forget to look at the instructions on the enemy card. So I like to keep that card handy until all of these monsters have been destroyed. Even after the first turn of the enemies, if there are still monsters remaining, I'm going to refer back to this card to know how to go about controlling the rest of these monsters that are still on the board. It's now the hero's turn. I'm going to move my barbarian up to place an attack on the mummy. Two hits. Two blocks. I'll then attack with my dwarf. One hit. One block. I'm then going to move the elf out of the way and attack with a fire spell. In this case, we're going to use Fire of Wrath, inflicting 1 point of damage on any one monster, unless it can roll a 5 or a 6. It does not, and we're going to kill this orc right here in front of our dwarf. It's then the wizard's turn, and try to roll and get her up in here into the action. 3, 4, 5. I'm going to have our wizard present an air spell attack. We're going to use Genie. This spell conjures up a genie who will do one of the following: open any door on the game board revealing what lies beyond, or use 5 combat dice to attack any monster within your line of sight, which is going to be the better choice right here. We're going to try to take out this mummy. Landing 3 skulls. The mummy can then defend 4. It would then be Zargon's turn. We're going to refer back to this card. On group 1, the greenskins, we're going to place an attack on an adjacent hero with the highest number of mind points within 8 squares. The goblin's gonna move over here, attack our dwarf who has a mind points of 3. Misses the attack. Feeling pretty confident that my heroes are gonna destroy this goblin here in a minute, I'm gonna have the barbarian on her turn open that door. We're gonna look at this 4x5 tile and we're gonna see that the barbarian entered from the right. And so we're gonna then place a 1x3 piece of furniture here and down below. And then we're gonna put an exit door on this square and on this square. Now, Lizuren has made it clear that if for some reason you walk into a room and you can't quite place the door in those specific spots, that you can just, as long as it's on this wall, place that exit door there or there. Okay, now if we were entering from the top and that furniture piece was blocking the door, you can just shift the door over here, or just not put that furniture tile there, or just draw another 4x5 card because of the conflict. Next, we're going to look at the population of monsters, which is 1 red X. Draw another enemy's card. We're going to look down below, and wow, in this case, it is a gray monster, which is 1 gargoyle. If you feel like it's just a bit too overpowering for this initial journey of a second room, then you can go ahead and just alter that. That's the beauty of HeroQuest. We can homebrew and alter whatever we want. In this case scenario, we're just going to take the gargoyle off so I can show y'all what would happen next if there wasn't anything in the room and she were to search for traps instead. And in this case, there is a floor trap, but she hasn't landed on it yet. So I'm going to place a trap token here just to alert our heroes there's a potential hazard right there in the room. Right now we're just going to ignore it and continue our movement. 2, 3, 4, 5. In this case, I'm just going to open that door. We're going to draw a corridor tile. We're going to flip it over and we have 3 different lengths here. We have a shorter length, which will be found in this area. We have a longer length right here, which would be horizontally across the game board. And then we have the one in the middle, which is 8 squares. Single corridor cards do not have green arrows and can be orientated in any desired direction. If a hero reaches a dead end, they must place a secret door to exit. And as you can see, the gameplay just continues to follow like normal HeroQuest. All the rules from HeroQuest apply as far as triggering traps, searching rooms for treasure. Easily pull a treasure card in this scenario if we didn't want to move on, which would be a wandering monster that would immediately attack. And now I think this is a great system for solo gameplay. It's quick, it's easy, it's self-explanatory, and it generates rooms that you would just normally go through in any dungeon crawling experience. Now remember, the quest objective is to continue on in finding Volkor, eliminating the evil threats that he poses to the kingdom. Now for the most exciting part of this demo, the Fog of War. My first encounter with Uncharted Dungeons came when Lizuren shared a few photos on Reddit, explaining how he managed to unlock the ability to play HeroQuest solo. These images sparked my curiosity and inspired me to explore beyond the game board. I knew I had to experiment with this concept. Now I didn't grow up playing Advanced HeroQuest, and to be honest, the sheer volume of its extensive rulebook felt intimidating. After watching an older review on the Dungeon Dive, I realized it was something I eventually wanted to delve into. The prospect of battling through dungeons teeming with Skaven was enticing enough for me to search for ways to adapt what resources I could find online. I'll add a link in the description below for you to download a copy of the Enhanced Advanced HeroQuest Heroic Gameplay Rulebook, something I flipped through in order to adapt some of the dice tables to fit with this style of gameplay. Now you can lose your mind in just the amount of dice rolling to create every single thing that your heroes will encounter in the game. I've just simplified it so it's a little bit faster paced than Advanced HeroQuest typically is. What follows is my straightforward method of using dice tables to create corridors and rooms while leveraging Uncharted Dungeon cards to generate encounters. This approach provides a fun and simple way to capture the essence of Advanced HeroQuest, seamlessly incorporating the familiar mechanics of heroes and monsters we all enjoy. I've also designed custom dungeon tiles that align with the size requirements of HeroQuest, whereas Advanced HeroQuest used larger rooms. What I found to be the easiest way in creating these tiles is to print them on cardstock and glue them on the back of cereal boxes or old snack containers. And if you put them all on the decal side, then the back will all be brown and not distracting. But I've gone ahead and I've converted all of the Advanced HeroQuest tiles to line up with the same size requirements of the HeroQuest game board. And that way, when we're playing with Uncharted Dungeons and you pull the card for, the 4x5 size room, you can easily find that 4x5 size room and play it as your tile. So you have all of the original artwork from Advanced HeroQuest. I have seen people make these tiles on thicker foam board, but I thought this would require much larger storage requirements, so I chose to do it this way instead. As you can see, I created a game box to hold all the figures and tiles and cards just out of an old shoebox. Make sure when you dry them that you lay them on something really heavy so they lay flat. Sometimes when I take them out of the box, I have to give them a good kind of bend. I like the look and color scheme of these tiles. I know a lot of people recently on Reddit have been talking about recreating new tiles. There's something about this older set that I just love. And as you can see, these work really nice with the newer tiles. So you get a very similar size if you were to add these into the dungeon as well, which I'll demo how we can go about doing that. So let's get into this. Now, in preparation on adapting Uncharted Dungeons to Advanced HeroQuest, I had to go through the rule book and simplify the dice mechanics to something that's more manageable. Now, at the start of every game in Advanced HeroQuest, you start with a staircase and a 2x7 corridor. There you go. And traditionally in Advanced HeroQuest, the heroes wouldn't see anything in this initial corridor until they got to the end and rolled on a dice table to figure out what lies before them. Now in this case, to speed things up, I'm going to go ahead and draw an exploration card and populate this corridor right here. The corridors I have placed in the back, and I'm going to find a double corridor. I'm just going to pull one of those out. Flip it over, and we're going to populate. Now our heroes are entering from the bottom, as you can see here. And so we're going to go ahead and place a door right there, and then I'm going to place a monster, which is going to be our level 1 enemy right there. I'm going to place one right in that spot. I find by setting up my tiles on some type of a tablecloth will help them stay put and not slide all around. I'm then going to draw an enemy's card. And we're looking for a red, which is level 1. And I'm going to look up here and I'm going to place 4 skeletons. And here is the AI, how they will attack when it becomes the monster's turn. So I'm just going to place these off to the side. I'm going to drop them as close as possible to that red X. 10, I'm going to move my barbarian up to attack a skeleton. Now, before we move on from the movement stage to the attack stage, I need to draw a trap card to see if there was any. And flipping over, there's nothing. So I don't get hung up on any traps. And now I can present an attack. The skeleton takes 3 points of damage, and since it can only defend 2, it's going to take an automatic hit and it's going to be destroyed. Here comes my elf. 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Draw a trap card, which is not there, it's nothing, and present an attack. 2. 1 hit. On the skeleton's defense, no blocks, destroyed. roll out my dwarf. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll end the dwarf there. And then for sake of just moving this along, I'm going to have the wizard open the next door. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I didn't have to draw a trap card for the dwarf or the wizard because this has already been traversed by our barbarian and our elf. And so per the rules and how they're stated, any squares that have already been previously moved over by a hero are free of traps. The reason why you have so many trap cards that say nothing is because you're not going to run into a trap every time. There's a very few in here. There's a falling rock trap, spear trap, but most of them are nothing. Of course, we have the secret doors on the other side, so it's kind of confusing to read. But that way you're not falling in the traps left and right. So here's where the fun begins. We're going to roll on a table to see what size room we're going to populate here. So for that, we're going to go to the cheat sheet, which will be included in the free download of all the tiles. Now what I have done is I've just simplified this. How to generate the dungeon, how to start, which is what we just did, when you generate, right, when you hit the end of a corridor or opening a door, and then it has a dice table for passage length, passage end, room type, the furniture, right? In Uncharted Dungeons, Lizuren just states find a piece of furniture that fits the size. I thought it'd be fun to roll on that. And then we have looting monsters, because Advanced HeroQuest is full of monsters, and in that game, every monster you kill is carrying a certain amount of coins, and I thought it'd be fun to go about looting monsters as well. So in this case, we rolled a 3. Any even number is a passage, and any odd number is a room. So we rolled a 3, we're gonna populate a room there, so we're gonna roll again and see what room we're gonna find. So we have a 6. So per the table, we go down here, anything rolled a 5 or a 6, you're going to populate a 4x4 room. Now like I said, let's incorporate some of these tiles that we got in expansions. They are similar in size to the ones that we have printed, so I'm just going to exchange that and place one of these in the dungeon right there. The wizard's going to open the door, and what we're going to do is populate that room. So I'm going to go back through my exploration cards, and I'm going to find a 4x4 tile. There we go. Pull a random one out. Let's see what's in there. So as you can see, we have to turn this card to match the entrance point that the wizard had entered. So here it is, the wizard's going in there. Now it doesn't matter if it's specific to where the door specifically is. This arrow is actually in between 2 tiles. So as long as we're entering there, I place the tile there, and that'll work just fine. We're gonna have 2 exit doors here and here, and then we have a 2x3 size furniture, and then 2 different monster types. Now, like I said, if we wanna play easy or hard, we can either just play one of them, which is the red, or we can do difficulty of hard and play both sets of monsters. Right now, I'm just gonna put the red one down. So we're gonna place this here, and let's populate our dungeon. I'm going to put an exit door there, and an exit door there. I'm going to pull a enemies card. We're looking at the top. For red, we have 1 mummy and 2 zombies. Our poor wizard's about to get blasted. I'm going to put these as close as I can to that X, or somewhere in the vicinity. Remember, you're the game master. So now we're going to roll to figure out what piece of furniture is gonna go there. A 3, so that's not gonna work. So we're gonna roll again. We have a sorcerer's table. We're gonna drop an old school sorcerer's table there. We're gonna continue on to see how we can populate the dungeon. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove some of these. One thing to keep in mind, and I didn't do it because it's new for me, is every time a hero kills a monster, you get to loot that monster. So when the barbarian first killed that skeleton, how we're going to go about determining the amount of gold that skeleton has is by looking at the monster stats. The best system that I came up with was looking at the totality of points the skeleton has on the stat card. So we're looking at a 6, 2, 2, 1, 0, which will be a total of 11. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna say that our barbarian, upon killing the skeleton, had earned 11 gold coins, as well as the elf who had killed the other one. In a sense, randomizing the amount of gold coins that you are able to acquire off the corpses of all these monsters. When a hero gets to the end of the corridor, we simply go to another dice table, roll a dice, getting an 8, and we're now going to have to populate the passage end. So as you can see, we have T-junctions, dead ends, right turns, left turns, stairs down or stairs out. Now one thing I learned from Advanced HeroQuest is stairs down means you just encounter another level of corridors and potential monsters. So you can just build off to the side another stairs leading to another corridor. The 8 gets us a left turn. And we're going to place this here. The heroes are now going to turn left. As that barbarian continues on, we roll again. 7, which would be a 7x2 double corridor. So we would then place another one of these. Now if it was a single corridor, that's fine. You can just place one right there. And then we would draw another exploration card. So let's just say it's a single. We're gonna go down here to a single. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're gonna flip it over. And then what I'm gonna choose to do is find the one that best matches. So we have an 8, a 5, and a 12. So we're just gonna take that 8, we're gonna adapt it this way. We're gonna enter this way. There's gonna be a door up here leading to another room, potentially. And then we have a blue monster at the end of the hall. If we were continuing to play in the easy mode, there'd be no monster there. If we continue to play in the hard mode, we would populate 2 goblins. All right, now remember, if the barbarian chooses to continue moving and then run out of movement space, she would have to draw a trap tile. In this case, it would be nothing. Now what I really like about this system is it's just randomly generating all the possibilities of our dungeon. If the wizard wanted to continue on and open that other door, she would open the door, roll to see if it is a corridor or a room. Remember, odds are rooms, evens are corridors. We have a 4, which is going to mean it's a passageway. And then we're going to roll and decide what size passageway we have. That's a 7. Our passageway is going to be a 7x2 double corridor. One thing I noted from Advanced HeroQuest is that corridors always go parallel to a room. And that way you can kind of build your dungeon into a square essentially and not get rabbit trailed off. Now for some reason, if when we populated this 2x7 corridor and we come to another door, that can just be a false door. Remember, you are the GM, you can control this. And when you play solo, you have all the abilities in your hand to control and craft the dungeon however you see fit. If you do come across a point where you can't build any farther out, but there is a door on the end of that room or corridor, you can just say it's the falling blocks to block the end of the corridor and then have the heroes turn back around. We can essentially search for secret doors in the same exact way, maybe in this original corridor, by drawing a secret door card, flipping it over, and finding a secret door. As our heroes enter the secret door, just like any other door, we would roll, giving us a room. So now let's roll and see what size room. We have a 7. I can then place this 3x5 room here. You would then draw a exploration card by finding a 3x5 room and populate that room. Now we would be entering from this side of the dungeon, so I'm going to then have a treasure chest. We're eventually going to have to roll to populate this furniture, and then we're going to have an exit door there, along with a level 1 monster. The monster for level 1 is 2 zombies. I'm going to put the treasure chest here. We're then going to roll to see what furniture we're going to add, which is an 8. We're looking at an alchemist bench, which does fit the 2x3. Now, as we continue to roll for furniture, if we've already used that piece of furniture, just roll again and find another item that would work. And this is how I play Advanced HeroQuest. Now, we will continue this type of gameplay, generating rooms, working our way through the enemy's deck, just like Lizuren has set out to do. And eventually one of those rooms is going to populate and be our quest goal or quest objective. He's given us the tools to create our own quest by creating a cheat sheet that allows you to fill in the required data to do so. I've included this on the back of my dice table reference guide that you can download below, along with all of the custom tiles I made. If you play with your younger children, this is a great way for them to create a unique quest. I can't wait to see what my son comes up with. I use this monster conversion chart to convert the traditional monsters found in HeroQuest over to more advanced monsters that I found in the Advanced HeroQuest guidebook. Things like Skaven, trolls, adding owlbears, and my own personal favorite, rat ogres. I wanted this game to feel different than opening the box of HeroQuest by seeing these really cool and unique monsters. Something as simple as exchanging the normal full-size zombie out for a dwarven one. Of course, you can find endless amounts of hero sculpts and monster sculpts on Etsy to include to your heart's content. Uncharted Dungeons is a wonderful addition to the HeroQuest game system. It's highly adaptable for homebrewers, gives you the ability to exchange monsters, create fun storylines, and include all your favorite dungeon tiles, making this card game a great way to get back to basics. Crawl endless dungeons, destroy unique monsters, and loot their gold coins. I commend Lizuren for yet another fun and creative card expansion, and I'm excited to continue to play through the 6 included quest. It's even more exciting to see how versatile his card system is. Because of these factors, I would highly recommend Uncharted Dungeons to anyone interested in a unique way to play HeroQuest solo. Well, that's all I have for you today. Please subscribe for more HeroQuest content, as I'm trying to reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Danger, you will soon discover, lurks in every shadow. Your very survival depends upon your ability to work together, for no true hero stands alone. Come, let the quest begin.